how it grows because I guess this is why it's really interesting at this point because it's Spotify, kind of, supporting it, who owns it or whatever. But and us, being specifically in the music space, that seems like a unique angle. But as far as functionality, it seemed like a pretty solid app. But
I saw Kick and then Jess. Did you guys want to weigh in?
So what I
Yeah.
was gonna say, oh, go ahead, Jess. Go ahead, Jess.
Well, me. Well, I wanted to say I haven't tried either of them, and I don't plan to because I don't support Facebook and Spotify with all their issues with the music industry and copyright owners and royalties. I don't want to give them any more business than I already do. So that's my quick 2 cents. And I agree with Steph. I don't like Facebook. I use it for clearance help with our Think This group. I lean on it a lot, but that's really the only reason I have it. Otherwise, it would be gone. So
It's on my desktop for that reason, but and for research artists, things like that, and pages, for music and stuff like that. But I agree, Jess.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that they're making competitions. Like obviously this app was a hot commodity, especially because they made it so specific to Apple users too. It was hard to grow and get onto it in the start. Like I love the exclusivity deal in the beginning, how they grew so quick. And I think that everyone's going to have their challenge trying to compete with this app. Granted, I haven't been on here in a while. So I'm sorry, guys.
We're excited to hear your voice. Happy to have you back.
I know I miss seeing all of your photos, not your faces. I can't wait to see your real faces. But yeah, that's my quick 2 cents on the new platforms coming out.
Awesome. What about you, Kick?
Yeah, so I was gonna first I agree with Daraj, like the design, everything. As far as Spotify, it was just like, well, damn, this is it draws you like, yeah, I want to use this. This looks like this will actually work. It's still a little limited, but I competitively see why they did it because Clubhouse, and correct me if I'm wrong, has kind of been primarily geared with its users towards music. Of course, there's a ton of other topics, that go on, but you know, primarily music like sync and things like that have become the driver. So it's kind of like, well, why should we not, you know, cash in on this market? And I feel like Clubhouse, they're doing as much as they can to really grow and expand. But to be honest, like I kind of stopped using it. It got a little difficult, and I feel like again, Spotify has a lot more resources to verify and validate its users, and they have a lot more relationships. I feel like Clubhouse is just taking too long. Now, Facebook, that was inevitable. That was inevitable. It's Facebook. And Facebook is just, I think they're just like, oh, another market, we're in it. You could, I can't even think of anything else that outside of audio that may pop up, but I just feel like Facebook's like culture vultures. Have always been, always will be. Yeah, and they're a business, period. But I'm not. I use Facebook for documentation more than just, hey family, how you doing? Oh my God, I just had this hot dog, this burger, whatever. I just use it for documentation as a blueprint for people to kind of just follow. So it is what it is. But Spotify, yeah, they pretty shitty, but at the same time, who knows? They might be able to redeem themselves to some degree. It wouldn't it be nice to be able to monetize to some degree your rooms. I feel like Clubhouse taking a bit longer to do this stuff. And Spotify 100% has the ability to allow you to monetize your groups, your rooms, and hey, how Eric was just playing some music. Say you just played somebody's music, they could, by you being able to just play that individual's music within the platform, that person, again, it's shitty how much they pay out, could get paid for that.
Well, I think
that's my sense.
The most exciting part, I agree with Jess and everyone else. I think that Spotify has a habit of being shitty to creators. However, the thought of us being able to make our playlists within Spotify so that people can hear them and then they can go back after done with a room and go back and find their favorite artists, follow them, support them, listen to them, make them a little tiny penny on their, music from streaming it or from us streaming it. I think that's a really exciting, thing that I'd love to see happen. And I'm with you. I hope that they get with it. I hear whispers of them trying. I hope they get with it.
They're using a creator fund similarly to how Clubhouse was trying to initially do like monetized. Well, not monetized. That's not really the right word because it's a fund that you're going to pay for, which I'm assuming is a limited fund. So it's not going to work the same as like a stream. But I'll be curious too. Especially I didn't even think about the like an in-room stream if it's oriented to that. But to Eric's point, when it launched, pre-launch, this was a more of a sports function, and seeing how they went crazy acquiring all the podcasts that were available in that space. And even I was just taking a look at their all the images that they're using for their advertising, and they are tied to podcasts, like however subliminally, but that's what's on there. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the driving business force behind it, is to, any of their hit podcasts are going to have like, hey, this is a podcast about football. Let's have a watch party and talk about it. Oh, hey, this is a podcast about this. Like, and they'll use that as their launching point, in my opinion, at least.
I think that's one of the reasons why they're slow to let people start their own groups or clubs. They have a limited subset of groups available, and because at least something I read today said that they're going to launch their own. Like you said, Spotify's acquired all these podcasts. So within their rooms, they're going to launch kind of their own curated programming in their own curated programming rooms, supposedly later in the summer. They're launching it now kind of for everyone, but they'll probably have a lot bigger hand in the curation than Clubhouse does.
I'm curious to see if iHeartMedia gets in the game too, because they've been trying to make a presence for themselves within Clubhouse to be able to gain access to talent for podcasts, and to take groups, I think, to kind of convert them to podcasts. And I think that they're super hot on this too. And while they haven't said anything public yet, you can kind of watch the trend of them being in certain big rooms, and their president CEO has been on, and I think they're trending towards that too. So I think we'll have a lot of them. And I'm down for anyone like an iHeartMedia or even Spotify, or I would love like an Amazon to get in the game, because anyone who can do the music thing that already sells as a marketplace for music and wants to do this, I think has a good shot at getting us monetize or at least get the connection for fans, to be able to connect to that music after. Because it is, let's face it, we talk about music on here all the time. There's lots of great artists that come up to our stage, a lot of great supervisors. For them to be able to come into this room and then automatically discover that person and really click on their stuff and get right to their music, not just their Instagram, which feeding the Facebook vulture culture, as Kick said, I think that's going to be an epic thing for us.
I wanted to add too, the way that a lot of new platforms work is that it is a slow moving process, and I think personally it'd be really cool to have everyone invest in the Clubhouse space, and let it have the time it needs to get all the T's crossed and I's dotted, to get all the proper protocols in place to support the music space and all the rights and verify people. What Kick was saying is so on point with like the access that Spotify has. But I would love to see if they don't lose users going off to new platforms, if we can all be patient with them to allow them to grow into the space that we hope it to be, even if it's taking time. Because what you see with a lot of these tech companies like the Ubers and Lyfts, I don't know if anyone in LA, like when Lyft and Uber decided to do the scooter thing. I worked on Main Street, Santa Monica, and what they did was just drop scooters illegally all over. They got sued and they figured it out, and so they created the scooter rentals all over the city quickly, because they went about it very wrong. And what it sounds like from the little I do know, because I don't have that much access to the Clubhouse world, I would expect that it looks like they're trying to do it the right way and get all the proper systems in place to then lay out and roll out to everyone who's existing on the platform and then slowly grow. I don't know. That's just what I hope. I don't know if that's really happening. I like that this is more user generated, just like how TikTok is more user based rather than there are influencers, but you see a lot of the normal influencers are just regular people. And I like how Clubhouse is giving a voice to the everyday musician who doesn't normally have access in the major cities. And I think we'll lose a lot of that if we lean into a larger platform like Spotify or something like that. I don't know. That's just me jumping in there. Okay,
No,
I'm
awesome
out.
thoughts. Awesome thoughts. Totally cool. Hey, Mike, I see you flashing.
Yeah, I also have love-hate with Spotify as a tool for my work. It's fantastic, but I think they're very much all about trying to get everybody listening and not listening to music, so they don't have to pay out as much. They can keep all the money. That's why they've obviously been acquiring all the podcast networks, and this is another way to get everybody engaged on the platform without having to pay out to artists. That being said, I think everybody getting in the voice space is phenomenal for the new voice ecosystem, and that's great for all of us. I think it's all going to come back around to all music and audio.
Yeah, it's interesting how much this space. We're kind of literally witnessing a birth of a new like form of social media, and it's just like evolving and taking so much interest. And it feels like it's moving faster than people are ready to really deal with the demand of it. Because from what I guess Clubhouse is open to the public, but it seems like I don't know. It feels like everything is releasing around the same time. Everything still feels like it's in beta. You know what I mean? But it's just really cool to kind of see this form kind of evolve right before us.
Totally agree. Okay. Cool. I love that. All right. So we wanted to talk about Clubhouse, even though that's not necessarily sync related. This is where kind of we live, and just good to see what other how these other competing apps are coming up, and just good to hear your own views on how it affects all of us. So if you're just tuning in, this is Control Camp. You can find out more about us at controlcamp.com, CTRLcamp.com. We're a community for musicians and executives in the sync licensing space. And you're checking out our Campfire Convos, where we're kind of discussing just the trending topics in the sync licensing space right now. So let's switch to what I'm calling TikTok and the death of the 3-minute song. So I got it might be a big setup for this, but feel free to, if you got something you want to interject, feel free to do it. And if I'm not looking, Stef or Daraj, just cut me off so that somebody can jump in if I'm not looking at my phone. So here's what's in the news this week. Right. So L'Oreal was in the news because they announced that they're going to start doing or testing out e-commerce on TikTok. There's actually a couple of different articles about brands doing direct sales or some other apps that are allowing TikTok influencers to do direct sales. And so as I was reading that, it kind of also just led me to looking at the number of brands that are more involved in doing TikTok campaigns. And there's actually an agency, it's called Movers and Shakers. And I don't think anyone from What Up Pitches is here, but they had a really cool webinar a couple weeks ago with the supervisor from this agency. His name is Eric Calver, and he sends out briefs. The briefs that he sent out were for TikTok campaigns, and they were looking for 15-second songs. And he wasn't looking for 2-minute or 3-minute songs that were cut down to 15 seconds. He was looking for whole entire songs that are 15 seconds in length. And Movers and Shakers, as an agency, they work with brands to create TikTok campaigns. And so it just struck me, one, it's significant that this space is so large and significant that an agency has come about that's only focused just on brands and TikTok, and that's the entirety or the main portion of their business. And so they'll take a product and they'll work with an influencer. They'll come up with an original song, 15 seconds long. That influencer will do, whether it's a dance routine or a comedy skit or something, kind of focused on the brand. And so they do, so this is a thing now in a whole industry. And so in addition to that, now you've got other spin-off. YouTube, I don't know if you've seen this, but YouTube now has YouTube Shorts, which is its TikTok competitor. You can only get it if you're on the iOS. So if you're on your phone, your mobile app, there's a YouTube Shorts that shows up, and when you click it, it's the same as, it's like a TikTok replicator. It's short videos, 30 seconds, a minute long, takes up the full screen, and you scroll by swiping up as opposed to left to right. So it's the same thing. And then of course there's IG Reels, and now Snapchat has Spotlight. And so it's all making me wonder how much pressure is there to reduce song length in general. Like, is there even a need for a 3-minute song, right? And so 3-minute songs, kind of for the room, 3-minute songs came about when we had 45s, and really the length of song that could fit on the 45 disc, the vinyl disc, was 3 minutes long. And so if you wanted to get on the radio, you had to have a 45. And so 3 minutes became the thing, and then radio just kept that going all these years. But is that even the case anymore? I looked on, I know as a producer myself, most of the stuff I'm doing for briefs, a lot of the songs I'm doing these days are kind of like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. If it's for an ad, then it could be like, if it's for a TV show, it could be like 30 seconds. But even if it's a full song, I don't think I've gone over 2:30 in a long time. Lil Nas X's Montero is 2 minutes and 18 seconds. Olivia Rodrigo, Driver's License is over 4 minutes, but the other songs on her album, a lot of them are under 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So I'm just wondering, we got a lot of composers here. We got people who give out briefs. Is this a general trend? Is everything shorter? Is stuff that you're creating, is it anything approaching 3 minutes? I want to hear from the creators as well as the executives.
Can I jump in here?
Please, Andy.
I think this is hilarious. I don't think it's hilarious. I think it is hilarious. I was sitting here laughing at some of this. 15 seconds. It's really interesting because my kids are always on TikTok and they're always editing, and it is always 15 seconds. And with songs, you've got to get it in now really quickly because their attention span is maximum 30 seconds, right? But history proves that it always evolves, because my eldest daughter, we go around record stores all the time, churning out records. She's listening to records from beginning to end. So these things that happen, I think, are kind of cool. Imagine writing a song over 15 seconds sounds quite fun to me, because it's a totally different world. And I don't think it's happening. It'll change things because people are going to TikTok, but they're after the beats. They're really after the beats and the synchronization, so that's what they're doing with this. So I find it really fascinating, and it doesn't really scare me. Most of the songs in films that I'm putting in and TV shows, it's sometimes a minute and a half. It's very rarely longer than that, unless it's a big featured song towards the end of a film, or it's a montage scene. So often club scenes are 45 seconds, 50 seconds, 30 seconds. So
Andy, let me ask you, are you getting 3-minute songs or 2-minute songs from people and cutting them down to 90 seconds, or are you getting 90-second songs?
Call me old-fashioned. I'm getting normal length songs sent to me, for sure. I didn't realize that second songs came. I would be mortified, I think, if I got sent a 45-second song. I don't know what I'd do with it, because you have to give the creativity to the music editors and supervisors and directors and everything to work out which part of the song they want. So no, I'm getting 3-minute songs, but we should remember that a lot of the Beatles songs were 1:55, right? So Buddy Holly songs were really short. So back in the day, songs were under 2 minutes, and it has always been determined by the manufacturer. Like you said, it was singles because it was plastic, right? And then I realized the other day that the 78 record, the way they worked out 45s and 33s was because it added up to 78. made no sense. I don't even think it was 33 revolutions. Maybe it was, but so everything, CDs was just a vehicle, because people would always say, doesn't matter if it's Michael Jackson's music on the CD or if it's your music, it's how many pieces of plastic they're selling. So that's why the digital world, when the digital world happened, I thought, oh great, the musicians are going to win now. But oh no, the record companies found another way. And the publishers even at one stage had it that it was a public performance when you were downloading a song. So for me, I think it's exciting that people are creating 15-second songs, because I'm going to try and get some 15-second songs written and pitch them to TikTok, because I think that is...
Dare I say the J word? Jingle? To be called a jingle.
We're coming back to that, huh? No one would want to admit that they're doing jingles, but
Absolutely,
it does sound like
absolutely.
that's what
That's
it
what a
is.
15-second song is. Even if you don't sing the product name, it's still a 15-second song for a brand. One other thought, though, is all the time, every time I work on a project, whether it's original music or something licensed, I have to beg the team I'm working with to let me do their cut downs. They'll take the 60, the 30, the 45, the long form, and whatever, and say, oh, yeah, our editor's just going to chop it down to a 15 and a 6-second. And it's not a good musical edit. I'd like to take control of that and do it. So I think it's great that they're asking for what they need instead of getting more than they need and making it not as good.
So I think this is super interesting because actually it's been a trend for longer than I think we think. I think what you pointed out, Eric, was something important, that there are entire agencies now, especially digital agencies, being built around this short form content, which I think is newer in terms of having like these larger kind of entities take on something. But really, since Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, I mean, for about, if I'm just remembering here, more than 5 years ago, we did something for Snapchat where we were just doing these like 10 to 15-second things. We're also doing sound design stuff. It's like, we've done a lot of stuff for Jordan Brand where all their ads have been 15 seconds, not cut downs, like 15 seconds for Instagram. So I feel like that ask has been around for actually quite a while because of social media. I think what's changed now is that it has more of a prevalence because of TikTok. And I think what's also different is that TikTok has really kind of exploded in terms of, look, there are, like, I don't want to say the publisher that they did. I don't know if it's public yet, but they just did a deal, where they're going to do artist signings and things like that, with record labels, with publishers, and so on and so forth. So I think what's maybe different now is that you've got artists who are also doing these kind of 15-second creations for brands. And I think Mike's nailed it. It's a jingle without the jingle, and maybe that'll make jingles cool again. Who knows?
I mean, to me, this is like, I feel like I've watched this happen a little bit because the Spotify like algorithmic data that they get, that changed how a lot of producers and songwriters will craft their songs, particularly like intros and then song length. Like those are the two things that probably shifted the most with that transition. Something like 15 seconds. I mean, I agree. I'll echo what everyone just said. That's basically a jingle. So that's just another category of creation that you're going to do, whether it's a, I guess to Mike's point, a musical cut down. Like in the library space, I'm used to having made, I have to always make my own cut downs. And we're pretty critical about all of them, Stinger, 15. The 30 is kind of irrelevant now. 1 minute has more relevance because of all the social media spaces that adopted 1 minute as a usable upload format. And then, kind of underscores and whatnot are still standard. But like a 15, and I guess maybe to Andy's point too, like the 15 I think can exist in that space because you're taking out the editor. Like there is no other person working on it. It's probably just talent directly to agency or at least producer directly at agency. And there I'd be curious to see the demographic of who actually succeeds in that space, because there could be a little bit of a funky generational gap that happens there. I know with young producers, there was definitely a type beat category of TikTok type beat. Like if we were making stuff and sending them out, they're like, no, use this pattern because that'll work better. And I'm like, for what? And they're like, TikTok. And I was like, oh, Okay, cool. Knock yourself out. Go with that one then. So,
So
um,
Koichi, let me just jump in because when it was really eye opening when Eric Calver did his brief, he actually talked like song structure of what they look for and what works, like and I'd been listening to TikToks a lot or watching them and listening to the music, but until he said it, I went back and was like, oh right, they all are following this pattern. There's like some type of real short intro, like a 5-second intro that's giving one kind of vibe, and then the beat drops for that last 10 seconds, which is really like a chorus. So it's like a cool tension building intro, and then this beat drop, and then the chorus. And when you hear it, that's kind of like how it is. If it's the setup for the silhouette challenge, or if it's the setup for one of the dance things, there's always like some little snippet of kind of tense music, and then beat drop, and that's where the impact is. And so like it's got a formula, and so there are people who are now studying, and there are producers who just push their beats on TikTok to get influencers to do their beats because they know that formula, and they're just cranking out that formula, which is pretty interesting and cool to me.
I don't know if anyone else has seen this in the briefs. I've actually seen it a lot recently where big show briefs will say, oh, by the way, whatever song you're doing, and this is like a normal length song, we need this to be TikTokable. And what they're meaning is like, they're wanting to make things danceable and movable and easily cut down for TikTok purposes. And they're straight up just asking for it right now. I want to pick on Jason for a little bit too, because because it's funny that Mike was talking about jingles, because we generally don't admit that we've ever worked on them, anybody in life, because it's become this like, for a long time, it's that generational gap, as Koichi was saying, where you kind of had this thing where it was so uncool to do jingles, and now I think it's going to be cool again. But Jason actually did the very famous Do a Dollop for Daisy and a bunch of other really famous jingles. But Jason, I'm curious about your take on what's happening then and now, since you've been around for a minute.
First off, I fucking love jingles. I will never deny being a jingle guy. That's how I got started. There's a craft to it. It's not as easy as it sounds, and they're goofy, and they're unashamedly and unabashedly like just commercial, and they're lucrative for everyone. They're fun. Like, I had a lot of fun writing that stupid Daisy song, and it's made me like a decent amount of money over the years. I get back end on that. You're paid fairly well up front for ads, but anyway, I think they're a lot of fun. They're obviously like cycles and trends in advertising, and we're coming out of a phase where everyone was obsessed with sounding like they just discovered some underground artist, and this song just happened to perfectly fit with their sour cream commercial or something like that. And now products are realizing that there needs to, when you're limited to a short, duration of time to advertise your stuff, you need to get to the point. And there are different ways of doing it. So now I think we're cycling back to that. But I will say that I do a lot of advertising work for Japan, and their format's been 15 seconds for well over a decade. And I'm actually surprised it's taken this long to catch on. And their ads are crazy, wacky, just like they were basically like TikTok videos, really intense and a lot of fun. But I guess to the point of whether or not 2 or 3 minute songs are still valid, I guess it depends on the intent. I think there's a value, unless you're selling it outright, to create a long song if it's something you want to promote beyond TikTok or to have it available to license elsewhere. It would behoove you to make a longer song, and then, as Steph said, make it TikTokable, so that you get the most value out of it. That would be my 2 cents.
Eric, I'm sure you've noticed this on briefs that you've gotten recently too, some from us, that we also many times in television will get contracted, if the show is ours, we're doing executive music production, to only do 1 minute songs, because that's how much they're using the show, and they're really keeping the length. And their idea is, why do we need a full song? But what I've noticed, especially in animation, is they'll ask for a full song, and then sometimes 6 months, 3 months, somewhere down the line, they'll come back and say, okay, now we want you to extend this into a full song. And they actually will say 2 minutes and 30 seconds to 3 minutes and 30 seconds as a guideline for those kind of things. So wherever it was like kind of an inherently born into their brains from radio that they do that, they actually, there's a lot of productions that will pay for extensions because they like to soundtrack them. So they, for whatever reason, they still feel like their songs need to be extended beyond the show for marketing purposes, for, soundtrack, or, to put them out on DSPs or what have you.
Very cool. Did I miss anybody who was slow flashing?
I'd like to add something if I can.
Go for it, Clint.
Yeah, I guess I'll say from the things I've been writing as far as full songs, it's kind of been along the same lines as what Eric was saying, just around I don't do anything more than 2.5 minutes, and I haven't even been putting bridges or anything because like Steph said, it was just like usually when they're not using a full song anyway during a placement. So yeah, usually I'm just quick intro, verse, hook, and then just a stinger on the end, and just end it like that unless they request something otherwise.
But Clint, can I just ask you, is that you writing a normal song, or is that you writing to a brief for film and TV or whatever visual media?
It's writing specifically for TV and film briefs.
Okay, because I think still, it's horses for courses, isn't it? Hopefully there'll still be all sorts of different length songs written for the right reasons.
I can't think of the last, even for like working with artists that I might produce the song for, I can't think of the last time I did like a real official bridge. I'll do like a breakdown, or it might be like a drop with dropping some instruments out, but like a bridge where there's a key change or different chord progression or something ends. But I can't think of when the last time I did that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do think it's probably obvious and it's probably been said. I think it really is like a generational thing too. I feel like, and also just a sign of the times, because it's like even my attention span as a consumer of music has dropped. Like if a song is pushing past 3 minutes or something like that, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want to sit and listen to this whole thing, which is sad to say, because years ago, like when I was when it was a different era of, speaking specifically to hip hop, like it was a thing to kind of have like 4 or 5 minute songs, got 3 verses, you know what I mean? Like it was normal. And I remember prepping myself to write, that length of time. Now I'm just like, I wouldn't even dare write a third verse.
I know you remember three 16-bar verses in hip hop songs.
Yeah.
Like, that was like the standard.
Yeah, I couldn't, like now it's just like, again, I feel like that literally like a couple hours ago, I'm writing to, for some briefs or whatever. And I'm looking at it and we got pretty far in the song and I got you got a strong intro hook, started out, I did my verse and we did the hook out and I'm looking at it's like, yo, we're already at like 2:30 and I only got a second verse. And I'm debating whether I need to write a second verse now because it's like we already here, especially when it's for sync, because and I think the priorities change too, where it's like we try to do so much in that first initial like impression that the listener gets, where it's just like we want the experience to come early, you know what I mean? Because we just know like we only have a limited window to catch your attention, and also to have enough variety for editors to choose from, when they're cutting it down to a 15, 30, 60, 90, whatever it is. So that becomes more of the priority as I've kind of done more and more in this space. But also too, like, again, speaking of hip hop, I know some of the younger artists, like the late XXX Tentacion, like he would do that on purpose. Like he would have his songs short to tease people, and kind of entice them to want to listen to even more. You know what I mean? And so I think, again, as music kind of trends shift and listener behavior shift, everything kind of, shifts with it. But I didn't even know about the Beatles and stuff like that, which makes this an even more interesting conversation where, short songs aren't necessarily, new. They just maybe we haven't seen them in this way in a while.
I feel like the time to revisit it will be if TikTok, and I think maybe Andy might have alluded to this a little bit, but if they're able to actually like take a 15-second song that blows up and then kind of cause it to become a real song and get it extended out to, you know, whatever we're going to call a real song length is, but in that joint like hits radio and does the numbers, that's a power play move for them to be able to say that like we did that, we invented this move right now, like, and so like
That's a crazy idea.
Are you guys?
Was it? I'm sorry. Wasn't Old Town Road something like that where it was like, or did it just blow up on
that was a
social
finished
media?
song, but
Okay,
it blew up on TikTok.
Got you.
There's an artist now, Canadian artist named I don't know how to pronounce his name. It might be Powerful, Powfu.
Powerful, yeah.
Yeah. So he's surpassed 1 billion Spotify plays with his song Deathbed. And he says he creates a bunch of songs on TikTok, but he just throws out partial songs. And the ones that blow, he's like, okay, I guess I got to go finish that one and then release it. And so it's almost like the new SoundCloud for like testing, what works.
But I feel like those guys are doing not 15 seconds. They're probably knocking out like the 1 minute videos. Personally, I don't. Maybe I'm tripping.
No, you're probably right. Yeah, because they're not working with influence that way. They're just doing beat or song, their own songs. Maybe somebody will duet it, but they're putting it out themselves.
I think Jason made a really good point. It takes mad skill to be able to create an entire fully formed idea within 15 seconds. There's an art form to it. And I think if given the choice, you're always going to go longer. I mean, even we struggle even sometimes to get things into a minute, where we're constantly begging. We're like, can we do 1:06 instead of a minute? Because just jamming this idea into this when you have all the things is hard to do. So to be able to do that in 15 seconds is rough. So I think Koichi's probably right. I think that they're, making songs and throwing half an idea up, which I think is actually pretty rad idea.
How do you guys feel about now that it's 3 minutes on TikTok? Do you think that they're going to start asking for longer songs now? Because just as a user and someone who isn't licensing for TikTok, because a lot of the songs that become hits aren't licensable, they're not approved edits to license outside of TikTok. So I'm wondering, do you think that these longer videos, because they're so dialogue heavy instead of more creative and dancey, are you seeing them come in if you're receiving the specific to TikTok briefs? Since I'm not sending them, I don't know. I haven't seen it as a user.
I don't know that I don't get a lot of those types of briefs yet, but I think that is my own opinion. I think we'll start to see that because I think there's a lot of more brands getting into the space. And, the 15-second was kind of defined by the format. And, maybe there'll be some economics involved because the longer 3 minutes would mean that it would be more costly for brands. So maybe brands might stay to the shorter time frames for cost-wise. But somebody's going to want to do the long form, fully branded thing. And someone will be the TikTok thriller that does a whole kind of like little mini movie, and the brand will be associated with it. It's probably just a matter of time for that.
Yeah, I think that we're going to get into, and we are getting into it. I just think it's not that common, but like we're actually sending a brief out tomorrow for a 3-minute piece of content that has to be scored. And I think there's going to be several cues within it. I think they're just going to they're going to start to treat them like mini movies, just like you're going to score a movie, whether it's 3 minutes or it's 90 minutes. You're going to have spaces for dialogue. You might use 1 or 2 cues. You might use 5 cues in a 3-minute piece. Who knows? But I think it's going to get, which is, I'm actually pumped for, because if you have people who know how to do that in the right way, I think you are going to see less taking a whole track and slapping it behind 3 minutes of something, and more nuanced, like music supervision for a 3-minute piece of content. Good luck, Andy.
I so agree with that, because for anybody in the audience or anyone if you're not on TikTok, or if you dismiss it as, it's kind of just something that my kids do or do whatever, like the level of creativity, like there are these are like legit script writers and film producers and comics who like have not had their shot at the big screen and are putting like everything into the short format. And so, yeah, opportunity to have something score. I mean, I think there's so much opportunities for musicians to look out for creatives to partner with, because the level of creativity on there just blows my mind. What people are doing, what they're creating with just their phones and witty dialogue, like some of it's really, really mind blowing.
I love it. I got to tell you, the creativity. I think what I'm excited to see is if we're going to start using this as like a very heavy A&R tool. I want to know what people's ideas are for these duets that kind of build onto a beat. There's just so many. There's somebody. Oh, I wish I could remember her username. So somebody taped a frog just making like this consistent noise, and then somebody built a guitar over it, and then this girl wrote literally 15 seconds probably of lyrics, and it's awesome. And it sounds like a fully mixed song. You know, that it just needs some finessing, and I'm sure I will see more people duetting her, adding more layers into it. And I want to know what people are going to do with that. And because that is the way that it's more heavily used, I find, and why songs aren't licensable, is because you can build on these sounds over and over again. And as somebody who's working in branded content, that's what my brands want to use, because we know what our audience wants. And they want more of that. They want to see like Vogue do something like that, Teen Vogue, Glamour do something with that with the kids. And so for me, I can't figure it out because there's no way for me to clear it like in an easy manner. But what do you guys think about this? Like, where do you see on the creator side how people can build on these trends to actually utilize these as a community, you know, and build?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I saw that same TikTok and that's awesome, and I will have to find it before the end of this because that girl really killed it. But something I saw the other day was that all of these people on TikTok had done exactly that, like had added on to a track or a song, and now they all have just created a band together. And so they're like finding people, you know, all around the world or the US or wherever. And they're actually creating bands together now. And now they've created several sites where they're just, you know, again, they're just creating together and then finding people that they can actually play with, because some people are just guitarists and they haven't had a band and they're making music and releasing it. And I don't know, I think as a creator, it's a really cool space, especially for like adding on and what you're talking and finding people almost like this space, you know, but just finding somebody to create with, because I think so many people can do something really well. And then, you know, if someone can add on to that and then, oh, wow, now I have a new friend or a new bandmate or a new creative like partner, which is awesome.
Right. But to Jess's point, it totally does not fit in the current like economic structure. And that not just for music, for anything. Like you can create an original storyline on there with a skit, and then someone can come around and, you know, add to that skit. Someone can put music on it. Someone can redo it. But the copyright law is not written for that situation. So how is somebody going to come around and then make a movie off of that or spin that into a series? Like who actually owns that content? And so it's more for like promoting the free, open creativity. But it's a total disconnect from how things are done and like a totally new way of creating that we have to figure out how to monetize it.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, Eric. I think we're actually catching up very, very slowly. There is a choreographer who worked for Beyonce, and he was able to finally make the point that choreography should be able to be, you know, copyrighted, and that we need to be able to start to copyright materials that you see in music videos or on TikTok, dances, and things that are not normally always. And there's some level of dance that is, but some to many degrees, some that are not. But especially things that start to happen in trends of TikTok and things like that. So people are actually advocating for that very deeply, because it shouldn't be. It's a great thing that we have this free space to do that. But since, again, we are very behind and it's not meant to be the free space. It's really just that we're so, pardon my New York French, fucking behind on our copyright law that we are just not properly monetizing it for people, or protecting people or creators as they should. Just like the Lizzo thing with the lyrics and what did this come from Instagram or somebody said it. There's lots of different trends and things like that happen, lots of claims that are coming up, and unfortunately it's just going to take us some time to do that. But I actually encourage anyone who has the opportunity to advocate in that space to be able to get your stuff on the right side of the law for that, to try to do it, instead of just being like, oh, hey, cool. And I know you weren't doing that. I'm just saying in general, I personally want to see us keep pushing towards that space where we can monetize those things, and that there's different levels. And, I think what we don't want to change, which I think has been amazing over the last couple of years, is that we've created a level playing field where you don't have to have these gatekeepers at major studios say, yes, you can, or no, you can, or major labels or anything else. So I think I want to keep down. I personally would love to see keep taking down the barriers to entry, but catch up on copyright and protecting creators.
Love that. Love that. Let's switch. Let's do a quick reset. Raj, do that. We're gonna switch topics, and then we'll open up to the floor for some Q&A discussion.
Awesome. Good evening. Welcome, everybody. You've been listening to Control Camp. We are a community built for and by independent artists. I'm one of your hosts, Raj. Alongside me are my co-hosts, Eric Campbell, Stef Fink. We appreciate you all being here. This has been, a really, really great night. Really great conversations. We host these rooms every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, not specific, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we like to interview industry guests and talk about how you can get your music into TV and film. And so get to know more about us and who we are and all the resources we have available over at controlcamp.com. And if you haven't already, be sure to tap the greenhouse at the top. Follow our club. You'll get notified for every new room we host. And we've been having our regular, was turning to our regular rooms called the Campfire Convos. And we've been just, talking about just different industry topics relating to music and sync licensing and TV and film. And so we have a flooded panel of moderators who have just been different expertise and run different lanes in space. And so we're just really excited and glad to have everybody here. Before we continue, we just want to make sure and just ask that you all just kind of ping some people in here if you feel like this has been a really engaging conversation and somebody can benefit from the discussion tonight. So with that said, I'll keep it going. Let's kick it back to you.
Awesome. So we're going to totally switch gears right now. Like I said, we've got one more topic we're going to talk about, and then we'll open up to the floor for just kind of general questions. So what I want to talk right now is I want to talk about 80s and 90s and this trend, or is it even a trend? It might just be the way things are. And so there's a couple of things that have been in the news, Mountain Dew. And there's a few different brands that are continuing to push the 80s and 90s trend. Mountain Dew is like doing this campaign where they're trying to bring back the whole 80s aerobics thing. And Banana Republic is launching like some of the vintage 90s wear, like these brands who arguably were really strong in those times. So there's some motivation on them to keep this trend going. But, Steph has said that even that Dua Lipa sound that's in her brief, which is kind of like a modernized retro 90s pop sound, like those briefs are still coming frequently. And so just, light question for the stage really, because it seemed like, there's lots of decades. I see music for the 60s and 70s, but 80s and 90s seems like it's more just, more in demand, more consistent, musically. And so one question is, why do you think that is? And is this a trend, or is this like something that do you think this is it for, like, not it, but we're going to see this for years? Will 80s and 90s be around for like a while? Go ahead, Jess.
Well, I hate to tell you this, Eric, but this means we're old, now. So, just throw
Oh,
that out.
That is funny.
Ew. Is that the I think this is gonna continue, and I think the generation before now felt this way. Um, when we saw like the 70s style come back with a lot of the indie rock artists, it was very 70s feeling vibes. And I think that just comes with age. Like the 80s came back like 2 years ago. The Met Gala was 80s theme. Like it was called camp, but it was really 80s theme. Now we're seeing 90s stuff. You go out to any stores that are open, like clothing stores, it's all the 90s stuff. The Nickelodeon documentary just came out, which was so like amazingly nostalgic for me to watch, but also like, oh wow, this is what our parents felt like when we were learning about the 70s and 80s. So I think we're just at that point where we're seeing another resurface where the prime target of a lot of brands and marketing are usually like the 18 to 35, meaning actually I take that back, 18 to 25. So the 18-year-olds are discovering stuff like Queen now. Like TikTok, you see a lot of them discovering these historical fucking legendary bands that have these like amazing movies about them now, and they think that it's new and they discovered it and it's so fresh. I'm sure I felt that way when I learned about the Beatles back in the day. So, and all of us did. And I think we're just at that point in our lives where now the young generation is like, oh, 90s girl groups. I'm like, yes, please ask me to license En Vogue. Please. I've been waiting my whole career for this, So stuff like that. So that's what I think. I think it's just we're at that stage in life and, the time continuum, if you want to call it. I don't know. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. I'm all about it. I fucking
I
love
love
it. I
it.
love it.
I love everything you said, and I think you're right. Everything that is old is new, and that happened to us when we were kids. I mean, I'm going to admit to the whole group, it's very tiny. I have a John Lennon tattoo. When I discovered the Beatles when I was a kid, I was like, hell yeah! By the time I was in college and 18, the second I could do it, I did it. So it's like I think every generation has its Beatles. For me, what's super cool, Jess, is what you just said. I was such a huge Beatles and 60s fan in my generation that when I heard some music that was coming out, I had to struggle with, I go, well, what's going to be this generation's or our generation's the Beatles? Is it Britney Spears? I don't get it. But it's funny. And now that I'm old, it's true. It is. And you just said in Vogue, because like that is one thing where I'm like, fuck yeah, cool. I would love to hear that come back again. Atik, welcome to the stage. We haven't said hi to you yet. How are you doing? Um, and I'd love to know if you see any of these trends that Eric and Jess and the room are talking about in stuff that you're licensing in terms of 80s, 90s, and nostalgia.
Hey everybody. I'm doing all right, thanks, Steph. That's a good question. I was thinking about it. Some of the '80s stuff we used for Super Bowl, but honestly, right now I can't even think of anything. I mean, once the season starts, I guess we have to see how things play out and what's popular. But definitely '80s. I know we used a couple of things, songs from the '80s for sure during Super Bowl, but a larger trend, I don't know. We did have a fantasy uh, season or actually, our fantasies. Those, excuse me, I apologize. We had a show, NFL Fantasy Live, and they did a segment at the end where they would do riffs of like '80s and '70s rock tracks. So I guess there's a thing for that for sure. Just on our end, it's just hard because we don't, again, with budget cuts and all, we have to always try to find the cheapest version of whatever we're looking for. So, but yeah, I guess there is a trend for that for sure.
Amazing. Go ahead, Eric.
I
Go ahead.
just wanted to add, if my 13-year-old is any indication of the future, the aughts are coming. She made us. I just spent $400 on tickets to My Chemical Romance, So, if you look at like Machine Gun
Yes,
Kelly,
Emo.
like Machine Gun Kelly and the pop punk stuff, Avril Lavigne-ish kind of things. If you listen to Olivia Rodrigo's new track, that kind of attitude is going to start coming back. And these kids, having gone through a really, really tough time, the teens right now are going to be expressing a lot of that through music. And I think, that whole like dark gothic-ish, goth-inspired rock sound could be on its way. And hopefully that comes with a side of Nine Inch Nails, but we'll see.
Hell yeah.
I definitely was in sessions this week with like writers who are half my age, and it was 100% like no trap drums. They all want to feel like they're in a fake band, and I like the studio that I work out of. That engineer was Chris Lord-Alge's assistant for like over 10 years. So he's like, please let this be real. He was so stoked. He's like, is this a thing now? Is this a thing? He's like, I'm not going to believe it until I see it a bunch of times, but maybe it's a thing. So, but it seems like, yeah, there's a little shift happening. Even in some of the hip hop sessions I've been in, there was the ones that trend towards pop. They're like, nah, trap's going to be done, and I was like, ooh, big words. So we'll see.
I don't know what I missed, but are you talking about guitar music coming back?
We're talking about 80s and 90s being like permanent.
This is perfect for Jessica. Go ahead, Jess. I'm going to let you loose real quick.
Clear your throat. You ready?
Hello, everyone. This is my thesis. Guitar music. We've been waiting for it to come back. And I actually have Koichi knows I've been like keeping tabs on everyone who has been influenced by guitar music and how it's slowly trickling back.
I love that you call it guitar music.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, wait, what? like bands.
From your mouth to God's ears, though, Koichi, if the trap thing could be over, I'm so for it. I love the trap thing, but it's like every single song and every single brief is like, even for things that you're just like, really? You want trap for this? Really? This sad part?
Yeah, trap all day. Let's get it.
This
Come
funeral,
on.
you want trap?
Yo, hold up.
Deraz is like, what are y'all talking about?
Hold on, wait. This is random fact. I've actually rapped at a funeral. I've rapped trap music at a funeral.
What?
Before, no joke.
Wow.
Legit. Yeah.
I don't even know how I'm supposed to react.
Yeah. Like, what cover song did they request?
No, bro. I won't get into it. It's gonna anyway. It happened. So yeah, fun fact.
Is there like a trap version of On Eagle's Wings or something I don't know about?
I mean, I'm down for like the Bone Thugs and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like that was perfect for that kind of stuff. Or even a little Boys to Men. Oh man, God! Now you guys are making me so nostalgic for all the. There is great music from that time.
Oh, there's
Come on.
so much.
Mm-hmm.
I thought around the time when Bruno Mars dropped his album out, I thought New Jack Swing was going to come back strong for a while, but it didn't quite hit.
It didn't catch fire the same way. Yeah, you thought it would. You thought it would really like.
And
take
Clint,
off.
I was so ready. I was dusting off my motif and my J. I was like, let's go. All right, guys, it's your time. You survived 20 years in the rack. We're good. Like, do some push-ups.
I want to say something very controversial, and that I know is very controversial. For me, part of the reason why I think it didn't come back from the Bruno Mars thing is that I know by age it could be, but I didn't personally feel like Bruno came by that sound authentically in terms of like time periods and stuff. And it just felt like, oh, we know this is a good idea and this is a cool thing, so we did it. And I think what's taking, especially for 80s music and stuff, is all of these kids discovering the sounds of the 80s and, the synths that were new from Phil Collins and, people like that. I know I said Phil Collins, he's not cool, but he is cool. And he's like one of the first guys to ever do that and discover those things. So, I think, the 70s and 80s guys like that we don't even acknowledge in these conversations, those sounds and those discovery things are now happening with a new group of, like Jason said, his 13-year-old, discovering sounds of that time and realizing they're pretty fucking cool and they were innovative then and it's neat to use them now and, it's going to change stuff up. But I don't know. I think it's got all that stuff that comes, now that's 80s, 90s trends. You have to almost come by it authentically because I've seen some producers, even on our team, admittingly, try to recreate that stuff. And if it's just not your thing because you're so into it, it's tough to do it. It just sounds old and dated as opposed to, throwbacky and cool.
So cool. That's such a cool discussion. Okay, let's switch up. This has been great. I want to open up to the audience. And so let's open up to the audience if anyone has. We're doing questions, so if you have questions about anything or you just want to chime in on some of the things that we've talked about, feel free. You can raise your hand and come up for that. Or if you have questions that are about sync, we're always willing to take those things. And something new I would like to see, I'm still really on a high from seeing so many members actually participate in the Durango conference last week and actually out. And I talked to somebody else today who was like getting their own briefs and pitching their own music to different places. Like, I just love that we like have people in our community that have become so entrepreneurial. So if anybody has any wins that they want to share, and I don't mean like a song release, so I'm releasing a song. I mean like if you got a deal or something signed or something placed and you want to share, we would love to hear that from any of our members or people in the camp. So if you have a question, you want to chime into the convo, or you have a win that you want to share, come up and share with us. Just raise your hand and we'll pull you up. Hey, Kate.
Hey, good to see everybody.
Good to see you.
So I had a quick comment and a question. The comment was with regard to the 15-minute TikTok songs, and just wondering, because you don't actually get paid for streams on TikTok. You only get paid for people reusing your song. And musicians think of TikTok as a discovery platform. You discover it on TikTok, and then you go stream it on Spotify or Apple Music. But if you only make a 15-minute or 15-second piece, then there's nowhere to direct it to. So that's my TikTok comment. And then I wanted to ask the music supervisors in the room, as far as the song length, one of the things I learned was that if you're putting a song together specifically for sync, that it's good to have as many different parts as possible. So there are more different things to choose from. So you might throw in a bridge just to have a different musical section. And you might have an instrumental with vocalization on it and a bridge. So you might have a 4.5 minute song, but it's specifically with the idea that an editor is going to chop it up and use different pieces. So is that still a valuable way to look at it? Or are you really looking for just shorter, more concise things?
I feel like all of us are going to give you a different answer because all of us in here do different content. So I'm going to say for my world, for my needs, and I do branded content, editorial content, I still prefer a full-length song unless it's a custom spot. And we'll pick and choose from the song. But if I'm picking and choosing, it's really to work within the dialogue, to weave in and out better, or we'll loop a spot to make it last longer. So that's me. But I'd like to hear what the other guys have to say.
Hey guys, I dropped out for a little while, so I missed a few things. But I work pretty much primarily in commercials, and it's still a 30-second and less world. I like to chop things up myself. But I just want a good song. I just want good pieces. In terms of adding a section for the sake of having an extra section to throw in there and cut, I kind of don't think like that.
Cool. Hope that helped, Kate.
Always good to hear different perspectives.
Yeah, good question. All right, Carrie, how's it going?
Oh, yo, guys, how are you?
Good.
Here?
What's on your mind today?
I was just thinking about all the era stuff you guys were talking about because I see so much of it. Now, I got a 13-year-old too, and she's all over the place. And I saw someone was talking about recently about one of their kids. And when most of us were growing up, you had these really serious generational things like, okay, yeah, this music or this stuff is contextually relevant, and then time would change and the stuff from before would kind of go away because you didn't have a way to access it. But now with streaming everything and all this music available and stuff, you can go back and you can see things from the 50s and 60s, and you'd be like, wait, it was, Well, why is there a Confederate flag behind Johnny Cash? It means it's a completely different thing now than it did then. And I think that's probably just going to continue to go more. You're going to see advertisers and people who are targeting specific demographics kind of going in and being like, oh, we want something that appeals that. But like Steph said, some of it's just going to be new people discovering some things that were great in the past. Whether it's because, a documentary film finally got made of it, or someone did a cover of it, or put it in a spot. And suddenly that's going to be new again. And I think that's just what we're going to see is going forward. There might be these renaissances of things, but it's not going to be like, I feel like in the 90s, like Mike, you saw it. Like, remember when that Cadillac spot licensed the Led Zeppelin tune, Rock and Roll, and all of us who were, in our 20s in the 90s were going, oh God, these old people and these old cars and this old music. But, they were excited as hell about it because it was a really targeted demo for them. I don't know that that's going to be as large of a factor, although it'll probably always be there because people who are at the top of the food chain with money are still going to buy what they like and want to buy.
Great insight, Carrie. Thank you for sharing that. Really cool points.
I thought that Cadillac campaign was, when I first saw it, I thought it was just absolutely nuts that they probably spent, 7 figures plus. But I think their statement was, they used rock and roll. And what they were listening to was rock and roll then. And buying, what was it, Cadillac or Jaguar? But buying that car for that demo is rock and roll now. I think that's the statement they were trying to say. It's pretty effective.
It was the time for sure.
I saw you flash, Steph.
Oh, no, I was agreeing. I thought what Mike said was right, and I actually loved it. But I'm also old as AF, as the kids say, so, maybe that's just me. I love discovering music through not only ads, but just content for me. My entire childhood musical ability was shaped through the Muppet Show, of all things. When you had, like, Linda Ronstadt, everything from Linda Ronstadt to... what's his face, Welcome to My Nightmare, like everything, and Beverly Hills, everybody, in every genre was on a TV show back then. So it's like, I guess I was trained that way from childhood. And Jess brought up something right. That Nickelodeon doc was so good and so nostalgic. I went back and watched on Paramount Plus, they have all those shows. And then I started going back and listening to songs because I was like, oh shit, I love this band. I love Ben Folds. I love this. I love this thing from the 80s. I love this thing from the 90s, from the aughts. It's crazy the discovery you find from television shows. So, I think it's going to be cyclical again. And I think there's going to be a resurgence. Look at what records did. Same thing after, that trend started happening. Like, I discovered Led Zeppelin through a television commercial. And I also discovered Led Zeppelin through Kashmir. Not to be, a liar. Like, I wasn't a big Zeppelin fan until, who was it? Kanye or Diddy? Diddy did use a piece of Kashmir in my generation, and I was like, oh shit, this band's amazing, But I didn't know that until someone new, took something old and made it new again.
So cool, very, very cool. Hey, Jen.
Hey, Eric, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Very good.
What do you want to
Having
share?
a great day. So I wanted to share kind of a little win and then like a full circle moment comment, and that kind of morphs into a question. And I promise it's short. So first of all, it was great to see everybody. I agree, Eric, all my friends from Control Camp and everybody else at Durango. It was so freaking amazing. And one of the things that happened there I wanted to share because I think it's a good lesson for everybody here. It was a good lesson for me. It really tested my humility and just my fortitude and my confidence. And that is that, you go there, you're invited there, everyone there is really talented, but while you're there, sometimes there are great comments and people are very generous, the supervisors, and sometimes there's critiques. And there was a particular song that I had that for the needs of this supervisor, they needed it to be more vocal forward. They felt like the vocals were very too deep and they wanted to be more vocal forward. And it was a lesson to me because that particular song was written in a class for an ad supervisor who loved it, pitched it, but yet for the purpose of this supervisor and what she did, it didn't work, and this was why. So I could have argued and said, well, blah, 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 this supervisor loved it, but that served no good purpose. So what I did afterwards is I went up and I said, thank you for your comments. And, she just said, I really want to hear it when you do the new mix. And I said, I'm happy to do a new mix. So that was a really good lesson for me, not to get defensive and precious about my songs, because everyone's needs are very different. And the full circle moment is that 3 days later, after I got back from Durango, that mix that I presented was signed to an exclusive agency called Dawn Patrol. They loved it and want to pitch it. And it's a fairly new song. It's called Dropping Gems. Some of you guys know it. I haven't released it yet, and I'm really excited about it. So it just taught me a huge lesson, to just remember that we serve the purpose, those of us who are music makers, we serve to, make everything sound better for particular projects and needs, and not to get all precious about it. And, being in here and being vulnerable and, learning things and just being open and being malleable, I think is just so incredibly important. And I wonder, from the supervisors and stuff on the panel, do you ever find songs that you love and you love them, but you feel like something has to be changed, and go to that person like this supervisor did and say, hey, I love your song, but this just needs to be kind of, adjusted in the mix? And does that happen, from time to time? I'm curious, because it's the first time it's happened to me, and it was a really big learning experience. And thank you guys.
That is awesome. Congrats. Katie and Patrick at Dawn Patrol are rad.
Thanks,
So
Jess.
I'm very excited to hear more about your journey with them. I will say, depending on, because we don't know what the notes were. So I think all of us have probably made changes to a mix. But honestly, if your stems are available, it's pretty common that we'll just take something out. We'll be like, those horns are too much, or this guitar is too high, and if we have the stems, we can just do that in post. So, it's common, if there's something like that, if we're interested in the song, we'll probably just ask you if the stems are available, or if you have an alternative mix, or, ask you to do a quick switch. But if it's something totally out of the box, then it would just kind of mean the song isn't right for that project. Maybe we'd give you feedback. It'll be hit or miss with the supervisor if you'll get feedback like that of why it doesn't work for that spot. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
And
Congrats.
go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, Jen, did they take the vocal up mix or your original mix? Which one are they using?
They actually took the original mix, but because I was in the middle of doing the new mix, I'm going to give that one to them too, and I'm just going to call it version 2 or vocal forward mix or vocal sync mix, or whatever they think would make sense, and I'm just going to give them both mixes.
Yeah, and also I have to agree with Jess. If I hear a song that I really like, that's going to need a tweak or two, and tweaks are done all the time, I'll just get the stems. We could do it ourselves, unless of course there's maybe it's a little too busy, and I think there's a great song in there, and I might ask you to strip it down. Then when you do that, you might hear something that's missing, like maybe you take out some samples and some horns, and all of a sudden the drums are a little too aggressive because they're supporting that, so then you might want to tone down the drums a little bit. But that's about as far as I'd ever push somebody to do without knowing I was gonna, make them some money.
That's a great point, Mike. I'll share, Jen, just one thing, because something I pitched at Durango got good feedback from one particular supervisor, and then his response was, "Oh, I really really like this song, but I would love it if the vocals were maybe a little more alternative or had a little more edge to them." And I could tell, sometimes people give you feedback because they're supposed to give you feedback, so they're trying to find something to say. But I could tell from I could tell from the way he presented that, one, he was really excited about the song, and that if that the type of vocal would make a difference. And so we're back. I'm working with the producer, and we're going to make another version with another singer on it, because I agree with his notes, and I could also see the enthusiasm. But I think, you have to kind of look at the person who's saying it. You have to kind of look at why they're saying it and read into it, sometimes before you make the change always.
Yeah, absolutely. I was trying to examine as to whether or not, for artistic reasons, I wanted to keep it as is, and yeah, if it was worth digging in and making a change. In this case, it was a person who deals with a lot of reality television, and they feel like the vocal is truly the storyteller, and so they really wanted that to be present. And there were two songs actually. The other song is a shoegaze song, and in a shoegaze song, or synth pop song, the vocals are supposed to sit a little bit further down in the mix. That's just stylistically how they are. But again, to me, the fact that they went out of their way to say something, you're right. I mean, for some people, I think they feel pressured to say something, but I was kind of watching them, and they seemed like they were enjoying the song, and, they said nice things about it, and that they really liked the lyrics. They were reading them while they were hearing the song. I just took it as a positive, sign. And, one of them specifically said, please, send me the new mix. So to me, that was all really positive. And, yeah, I was just thankful that they, said anything at all, because we were all like in those, those 8-minute pitches where we needed to move along. So, yeah, definitely.
Very
Thank you, Eric.
cool. Well, thank you. And thank you for sharing that. It's awesome that you had the experience and you took those lessons from it. And you got the placement. Very cool.
I remember that song because that's the song I said it's perfect for TikTok because of the lyrics and, because of those things. And it's also perfect for reality, which is, what I also said because of those lyrics. So I think you have it's cool. I think that's good. That's going to get placed for you. So I think that's super cool.
Shout out.
In terms of, changes to songs, it actually happens a lot. I mean, it depends upon the supervisor, because like someone like Jess said, she'll take it and run with it because they work at a very fast clip. Like they're moving too fast to kind of ask you to make a lot of changes and things like that, but are more likely to be like, give me the stems. If I like it, I'll mess with it myself, if it's just a mix issue especially. But we get songs all the time that we want to pitch for certain people, and a lot of times that we'll ask, and always with permission, if it's a sync rep song, hey, we'd love to rep this song. Can we remix it for you? Like, meaning, can we put a better mix on it? And we're, try to be as polite as we can about it, because not everybody has access to mix mastering because it's expensive, right? So a lot of times that's something we'll do on our end that we know independent creators don't always have access to. So that's something we do. There's a lot of like small tweaks that we'll ask if we can make, like, can we cut this intro down? Would you mind doing this? Like, this song could be perfect for this if it had this. If it's not out yet, we'll just have a polite conversation with the creator and say, we'd love to pitch it for this. Would you like to change this? And like Mike said, if we don't know we can make you money, we'll offer to make the changes on our end for free for that, person, because it is a lot to ask a creator to change what they're doing when they're not getting paid for it. So if we think we really want to pitch something that needs some tweaks, we try to take it on as to not put that on the creator, but it happens probably once or twice a week.
That's amazing. Thank you, Stef.
Thanks, Jen. All right. Kristen, aka Motor Girl, it's your birthday today. Happy birthday.
It is. It's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, guys.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Kristen.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, guys.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, guys. It's so good to see you all. And I just want to thank again Control Camp, because I had a full circle moment too. And Jen and Diraj were in my group for Durango. So I was really blessed to have their musicianship alongside mine. It was just amazing to see. And yeah. And so I just had the best experience I think I've ever had. And I really think Control Camp has a lot to do with, I got to see Mike there. I got to see a lot of people that had already met through Control Camp, and it was just amazing. So I do want to say that I got 3 songs exclusively signed to Silver Lake Sync. I can now announce it. So VMG Group and Silver Lake Sync. So many thanks to Control Camp for helping me through this journey.
That is awesome, Kristen. That is just great. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And your group 6 guys really did kick ass.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey, can I jump in on this real quick? I want to say I'm extremely proud of Moto Girl because I know your backstory, your life of coming from education, which is something I'm also passionate in, and working with people and the social work that becomes, and the fact that you took a leap of faith to go from that to what you just said is tremendous, and you deserve your flowers for that, for believing in yourself and in your music and pushing it and taking those risks. So congrats to you.
Thank you so much, Psychosis. You were a huge part of my uh, comfort and courage during a part of time. So I really, and always, thank you.
And Silver Lake Sync is Jaden's company, right?
It is,
That is
yeah.
awesome. That is awesome. Awesome.
Yes. Super excited about it. Thank you, Jess. Super excited. I think she loves the music, and they're all excited about it. So I'm really happy to be with them.
Guys, can I also just put this out to the room? Can we figure out how to get Psychosis on, like, I don't know if it's like a what's with digital tape or voice kind of things where he has some kind of like mentorship or like happy moment of the day for you. He's just so positive. Like I want like a little clip of Psychosis
Those are,
every morning.
you know how Alexa has those little things that you can ask for the news and updates. You need to have like your Psychosis moment. Like give me my good morning encouragement from Psychosis.
Yes. What are those things called?
A flash briefing.
Yes, the Psychosis flash briefing on Alexa.
Psychosis flash briefing.
Get to that, Psychosis.
Awesome.
Man, I appreciate that. And thank you, Steph. I mean, the name itself that I pick has a lot to do with how you think about yourself in the world. So I try to get out of my thoughts into the world, and that's how I make music. And then for a lot of other people, sometimes it's easier to, when you're looking at someone that is your own head, to kind of see what it is that they may need to see or hear or think through. So when that comes to me, I try to share it, man, no matter which way. And everybody on this stage does that in their own way. Everybody here has the gift of giving people something to see or that they didn't previously. So I appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing that, Kristen. All right, Adam, what's going on?
Hey y'all, how you guys doing?
Good.
I'm just hanging out by the fire right now at a cottage my family rented up north. Super nice. So sharing those vibes with you. Also, funny enough, there should be like a morning hello from Psychosis and Tommy, who's not here right now. Probably best voices and positivity in the game.
Totally agree.
I'll get to it. Quick question. You guys were talking about Durango, and I was talking to German about the next Durango conference coming in October, and I'm thinking about volunteering, and but is there any other ones that are coming up in the interim, like pretty immediately, that you guys are looking to go to, or what's the next big conference you guys are looking to show up at?
Good question. Does anybody know anything that's opening back up that anybody's looking forward to this year?
This one is more South American based, but Circular is coming up.
What's it called?
It's Circular. It's usually in Colombia. I'm not sure the country of Colombia, and it's people from all over the world. Obviously, very Latin American based, and Southern American territories are there. But it's a very cool international music conference. I love it, and they have a lot of other art aspects to it too. They do music panels, and they're developing an industry down there. I like going because I very much am a global minded music person. So I know it might not be as specific to this room, but it's coming up in like a couple weeks, and I think it's online.
Cool.
Sweet.
Anybody else has anything they're looking forward to or know about?
I don't know. It's been happening digitally. I don't know if they're doing a physical one yet. Jizzle and I went to SyncCon in 2019, and actually I know Atik was there, and I had met Brian there. We had a lot of success there, and they weren't the most organized of conferences and stuff, but it wasn't that expensive, so it was worth it for the couple $100 versus like the $3,000 dollar conferences and things like that to take a shot at them. Because I also think if you're really good, they're at the big ones that are like $300 to get in or $400 to get in. There's a lot of people there. If you're actually good, you can kind of cream rises to the top sort of thing, and like get through a lot of really great stuff and walk away with a lot of contacts and, find other good songwriters and, attach yourself there. But I would look out for that again if SyncCon is happening. I know they were doing some digital stuff.
Yeah, they were really fun. I liked it. They did this huge Q&A feature with Carolyn, too, like 2 years ago. Was that 2 years ago? I definitely agree with it too. I agree with this statement.
Yeah, Angela
Check out SyncCon.
there. That's how I met her for the first time. When she was doing Greenleaf. So it's, there's a lot of really great things. And, for us, when Jizzle walked in the room, she had like a fan club of supervisors, and it just worked really well for us. So I think, if you're making a name for yourself, or even if you haven't yet, but you are really good, take a shot at those, lesser fee kind of ones. Because I'm not personally a big fan of asking talent to, especially independent, kids or people who are even adults, to spend thousands of dollars, even though some of them might add a lot of value. It's a tough ask. So I'm just saying, don't discard those like lesser cost ones, the more budget kind of friendly ones.
Oh, yeah, you remind me. Actually, go ahead, Atik. Sorry.
I was going to say I found SyncCon better than Sync Summit. I had a better experience for sure. So
Very cool.
You can take that for what that's worth.
Look up. One of my favorite. They've been doing it virtually. I don't know if they're going to go back to in person, but there is a conference called Music Expo. They normally travel around the country. They do it in Nashville. I think they've done it in somewhere on the West Coast, but not California. I don't think. Maybe unless it was San Francisco. And they've done it in South America. But they're always very, very it might cost, the registration might be like $25 or $45. And it's, if you do it, I think I went to the one in Nashville. It was like an all day or a 2-day bunch of workshops at SAE in Nashville. And they brought in mix engineers that walked you through their sessions. They brought in producers that kind of walked you live through how they record live instruments. And they have marketers come in and talk about, from the different labels in Nashville. Really, really good info for a very reasonable cost. And so we're doing it in person. The last few have obviously been virtual, but still they give you good access. So Music Expo is what it's called.
That's cool. Do you guys want to know my ultra secret trick to conventions?
Definitely.
Of course.
Very secret that I'm only going to say in Control Camp. I never admitted out loud before because I feel like it's such a good hack and it's done me so well. So after Jizzle dragged me to SyncCon, I was like, oh God, music conference. I have to admit that I'm not good with groups of people. And I feel like there is a lot of shouting out into the ether sometimes when you're at these sort of things. There's a lot of really talented people and you're one of many, and you have to work really hard to kind of make your, self known at those things sometimes. What I started doing by accident is, because I'm also a film producer, I started going to like Women in Film or other things, and I noticed that I'm the only music person in the room. And what would happen is when I'm at a director or producer summit or a convention for, a different industry that's adjacent in entertainment, sports, I was doing a lot of because of our film. I was the only person in the room that knew music, and I heard a lot of questions being addressed about like, how do I license music for my film, or how do I do this? And I cleaned up more gigs from going to like non-music related conferences that are, kind of entertainment adjacent. And you have to be very careful because you have to have a purpose for being there, and you can politely also, just go to learn things. But I also encourage it because I think you build a lot of empathy learning from directors, producers. Some of the ones that I went to had, heads of Netflix and heads of Hulu and just different people listening to their budget stories and how they budget for films and how they budget for music. And, I think, learn a lot about the process of why they choose things, why they don't choose things, and how budgets work, and how a lot of those things that we think are creative issues with us have nothing to do with us. So I strongly encourage trying to look at some of those things, especially for women and BIPOC creators, because there's a lot of new ones coming out every day that are kind of adjacent to the music industry. But don't tell them I sent you, because they get mad when you're not.
That
I can tell
was
you
the
one
gem
that's okay
of.
to send you to.
What'd you say, Jess?
Dylan, sorry, Eric. I want to share with the room, if we're going to talk about non-music groups. If you're on the coast near Los Angeles or New York, I don't think there's any other divisions yet that are major. But something that I was part of, the same reason Steph is saying, and I was so involved I became part of the executive board, is called JHRTS. I call it JHERTS. And it's a junior division of Hertz, which is all the entertainment executives, like studio heads, agent heads, and all of that. So if you're a composer, producer, and you're looking for reps, like to do major films, these are the people you want to be in with. And their J Hertz is great because they do multiple events throughout the month, and it's a $60 membership for the whole year. It stands for Juniors in Hollywood Radio and Television Society. So there's a radio aspect, and I can tell you I was the first music person to ever be on the board. I got a few other people involved when I joined the board, and I hosted their first ever sync music supervision panel with a bunch of like people and my mentors at the time. And they've done one since. So they're still like growing, but I still talk to all those people and use them in my supervision role. It's really good to know agents and all these people when you're trying to staff people too. Also, music supervisors have agents if you're somebody who's looking to become a supervisor and don't know how people get those big major projects. A lot of them have agents. So yeah, JHRTS to go. They do speed networking, Q&As, panels, 30 under 30. They have partnerships with Netflix and all these big companies. So just go. It's really cool to be in the room with these people. Check it out. Steph, yes.
This is
Thank you for saying
amazing,
that.
Stefan. Just
Damn.
that level of that's like the biggest gem of the year. That's like insane.
I'm sorry I got to interrupt. That's jhertz.org.
Yeah, jhertz.org. Yeah, I think it's JHRTS. If it doesn't come up, every once in a while when I try to send someone the link, I have a hard time. So it might be hertz.org/jhertz or something like that. But HRTS.org is the parent company of it. So you'll see it somewhere on there in the menu items if it's hard to find. But there should be more people involved. There should be more music people on there because they're missing a whole huge part of the industry that's missing representation with the radio part of their title. So
Well, now they're going to
check it
get
out.
a huge influx of sick people from our room, which is amazing, and I love it.
I
And
mean, I had hoped to grow it, but it's still, there wasn't that many people after I started to expand past non-members to get more music people, but I don't know.
yeah, I think you actually just made a really good point. Outside of even the conventions, it's really important. And Abby, my intern, is in the room, and I always say, do as I say and not as I do, because I encourage her strongly and all the students we work with to not only just go to the conferences, but keep up on the trades, keep up on the trends, but also belong to things, be members of things, and not just sign up, like be active members of the community so you know what's going on. And I have to admit, I'm not always the best at that because I'm always I've got a million things on it. But I really, it's something we try to do all the time, and I fail at, but I'm trying to get better at it. And I think that's the perfect example of something. It's $60. We know you. It's like an easy thing to do. So I would encourage people to do that. And also, especially women and BIPOC creators, there are so many new initiatives this year that are meant specifically for us. So, go, even if it's non-music related, like I said, go out and just be a member of the community and see what's happening so because honestly, even if you're I've gotten a lot out of being the only music person in a room full of sports guys and agents and things like that. I've gotten so much work that way. So I really encourage, look at there's a game you play. When I went to Oneonta for music industry, the first day of class, my music industry 101 teacher said, get out a piece of paper, because we didn't all have computers in the classroom at that time, and make a list of everybody you know that you can exploit in the industry. And she said, look, exploit sounds like it's a bad word. You're not going to go call these people, just ask for favors, but look at your 6 degrees, make that list so you have the 6 degrees of separation, so that when you want to reach out to someone or connect to someone, look at your list and find the polite way to be a human and ask them for it, which is, this is the same thing. Start making connections that you don't have and inroads in different industries, instead of, I think, being so insular in the sync community, which we sometimes tend to do.
Yeah, and another truth bomb to add on to this, an extra layer, is I don't know how often we say it on the supervision side, but when it comes to the creative, it doesn't always matter what I say or think. It's the end of the day, it's probably going to be the producer, director, post supervisor, depending on the project's final say. And it's so often that they do whatever they want anyway. And so, like, for you to have these relationships, like, maybe you know all these supervisors, but you're not getting anything. But guess what? You made this awesome connection with the producer at a J Hertz event. And when they're trying to figure out staffing for their film, they're not going to think, oh, let me build get a supervisor and build a whole team. They're just going to go straight to composer and come to you. So, like, it's something like I'm here to help, but also at the end of the day, it's a very real aspect of people like working with who they know and who they like. And if they know you, then they're just going to come to me and go, hey, draft this contract, which happens all the time at my corporate, like, Conde job. Like, they bring in songwriters, producers, and stuff that they like, and then they'll ask me for my own suggestions too, and we'll explore everyone, or we'll just hire who they want, and that's it. So it's another reason why it makes sense to expand past the music world, like Steph is saying.
Damn.
Yeah, that was a great question, Adam. I'm
That's
so
amazing.
glad
Thank
you came up and
guys.
asked that. So
You
cool.
summed it up.
Cool. Thanks
Got some, like, you opened a can of worms.
No, that was he just led to the
I'm happy I did. I tried to ask
biggest
the right question. I know there's more and more conferences, and at least for me, meeting in person is a way to get my message across. And I'm sure you and Steph and a bunch of people would say the same way, that, you're an email, you might have dope music or a good message, but when someone feels your energy in person, you're not only that dope composer, they know you as a person, they feel your energy. So I appreciate that, and I'm just going to keep on researching more.
Cool. Thank you, Adam. Awesome question. Thanks so much. Cool. What you got, Steph?
I was wondering if I could take one moment to have an ask for our room, which is I am currently looking for women and BIPOC folks who would like to be a music supervisor or a music coordinator or a music supervision assistant. So if you are one of those people, please don't contact me if you just want to do songs or something right now. If you are wanting to get into the music supervisory space and you're women and BIPOC, please DM me, because I am currently looking. I have opportunities to fill for something. So if you have it, please connect with me.
Woman and BIPOC, or women or BIPOC?
Women and or BIPOC. So you could be women and BIPOC at the same time, or you could just be BIPOC. So men, that are also anywhere in the BIPOC family.
Cool. Awesome. Great opportunity. My ask for the room is, one, we've been doing this Campfire Convo for a couple of times. So if you like this format, what we've had, just the way we're doing this discussion, because we think we're going to do this as our regular weekly discussion of different topics, hit me in my DMs and tell me that you like it. And if you would like to see a newsletter with these type of topics of what's going on in the sync industry, then put your email in my DMs. Let me know how valuable this is, or if it's valuable at all. Either way, I'd like to hear from you that hey, we really like this format, or no, go back to the Q&A interviews. I kind of want to hear what you guys think. But if you'd like to see a newsletter in your inbox kind of summing up those topics, then hit me with just put your email in my Instagram DM. You can find it on my profile. We are a little few minutes early, and we're not, I don't think we said this during the break, we are not doing an after party today, unfortunately, but all of us are pulled in like a lot of different directions tonight, so we'll all be leaving here and going back to work, working on briefs or working on music or what have you. So we're going to skip the after party today, and we'll resume next Wednesday with another discussion. Yeah. I see Daraj probably had to jump off. Steph, any thoughts?
No, I just love our room so much. I love you guys. I love Koichi, Paige, Jess, Atik, Psychosis, Mike, Clint, who was here earlier, everybody who was on the stage with us, and our audience. I every week I think, oh no, we're kind of, or maybe we're running our course or something, but I'm like blown away by all the cool shit that happens in here. Pardon my French again, but I love it. And I thank everybody who keeps coming back and, you know, who helps to grow our community. And it gives me hope for the future of the music industry.
Totally agree. I totally agree. We appreciate you all so much. Jess, glad to have you back. Atik, good to have you back too.
Thank
Thanks,
you. It's
man.
been a
I
while.
missed it.
And Mike, I think this is like your second or third time here. We're so glad you've been hanging out. Paige, so glad you've been hanging out with us. Psychosis, always good to see you. Just thank you all for your contributions. And is there anything you all, since we don't have to belabor it, but we never do ask this. Is there anything that you guys individually want to either promote or let people know about, or just tell that the audience needs to, we want to share with the audience?
I just thought of one more sync event. Well, not specific, but music heavy event happening. I don't want to say upstate because it pains my soul, but if you're in the New York area, outside of the city, up in specifically Wappingers Falls, my hometown in New York, Nicole Sanzio and I are going to be talking at this outdoor entertainment panel at Baldwin Park. I posted about it a couple days ago on Instagram if you follow me. If you don't, hit me up and I'll send you the flyer for it. If you're in the New York City area, it's like you could take the train up to Poughkeepsie or New Hamburg station and take an Uber to the park. It's not that far. But yeah, it's just something in person, outdoors. It's going to be my first real life thing. I'm terrified, but it's happening in July. So check it out.
You are blowing me away. I too, born
Jess,
and
you'll do
raised
a
in
great job.
Wappinger Falls.
Stop it.
Yep.
Stop it.
Royce Ketchum, class of.
No.
Are y'all serious? That is so cool.
I'm 05. What class are you?
Oh, I got you beat.
I'm going to use that response from now on.
I got you beat
Mike,
by a
are
couple
you still
decades.
here? Are you still in the Hudson Valley area? Are you
I'm not. My family's still up there, scattered around New Paltz and Kingston and Statsburg. I'm in Jersey.
Okay, I was gonna say if you're in the area around now, we should grab coffee.
I would.
Get you
I
both.
come up there all the time.
I'm gonna try to meet Stef and finally squeeze her in real life. I'm gonna hug the crap out of you when I see you.
Are you in Wappingers now?
I am. I'm with my family right now.
Wow. I'm about to split on a vacation for a week, but in a couple weeks, I'm back. I zip up that way all the time.
Yeah, let me know.
I'm gonna be in Staten Island for the 4th. That's a little farther.
I still consider that the city.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean, everyone from the city is like, ugh. I see Jess in the crowd. I feel like if I call where are you from, Jess? You can't answer me. Long Island.
I think she is.
I feel like Jess and I, in LA, we're both the Jesses from New York, but everyone assumes I'm going to have an accent like her, and I'm like, no, you got the wrong Jess. She's the one who talks like how you wish I sounded.
Hey, Greg, I saw you had your hand up right before we closed the hand raising. You wanted to say something?
Yeah. Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good.
Good. I just want to say thanks for, having this type of chat and everything. I just wanted to reach out. I've been producing, for quite a while. The last response, many people I could say, I've got you beat, but I ended up opening a disco account and just wanted to kind of start taking the journey of getting music just to the attention of the different supervisors and any other people that might feel like a need for music in their content. So I just want to cheer you guys all on for keeping everything going, and already so far at the very first steps, it's an amazing thing. So I just wanted to wish you all well. And my music making name is Comfort Crusade, and I'm on all the socials and everything as Comfort Crusade.
That's awesome. Is this your first time in the control camp room?
I did actually start as a lurker on the site. So I joined and I just saw that, the alert today that you had the call. So I said, you know what? Why not?
Oh, we're glad to have you here. I'm glad you're here, and keep coming through. Come on us when we do our next Saturday. Come play some music for us, and keep coming back on these Wednesdays, and we can just keep sharing information and learning more about just taking what you're already doing and getting it in front of supervisors and people who get things on TV, film, etc.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. Thanks.
Thank you, man. Thanks for coming up. And Randy, I know you had to step away, I saw, but it looks like you're back. Did you before we were just about to log off, so you just made it because it's 10 o'clock. So we're about to log off, but did you want to quickly say something?
No, I'm glad to be here. I hope to be back. I love the world of film and TV, and I heard a topic earlier. Do people ever come to you, and do supervisors ever go back and say, hey, can you tweak the song here and there? I would say that if you're lucky enough that a supervisor comes back and tells you to tweak a song here and there, you consider yourself very fortunate, and obviously try to accommodate the changes if you can, if it feels right. I mean, don't do what doesn't feel right, but it's rare and it shows positive interest.
That's awesome.
Thanks for
Randy.
Thank you for the room.
So you're a publisher. You want to tell?
Yes,
this
sir.
Is your first time? You want to tell us a little about yourself?
Simply, I'm a boutique independent publisher with a big focus on putting music in film and TV.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yes.
Anything?
I'll be back. And I'm in the rooms. I stop by Clubhouse all the time. I'm here all the time. So you'll find me here, guys.
Well, come on back through, Randy. We're happy to meet you.
Thank
Randy,
you.
nice
And
here,
one other bit of advice for everybody. Avoid the curse words. Avoid explicit words. It may seem obvious. It may not. But, you can tell any story, I believe, can be told without explicit words. That's how I happen to feel.
I'll friendlily disagree with you. And I'm not somebody who curses, but our stage is open to our friends, and we're kind of free here, so it's okay.
I mean in the music, by the way. I don't mean avoid cursing in real life.
Oh, in the music. Sorry. Okay, I totally misunderstood what you said. Gotcha. Okay.
Oh man, I'm fucked.
Thank you for hey, I curse in real life, by the way. I curse in real life as much as everybody else. And I'm glad you caught me. I'm glad you made me clarify what I said. Yes, it's when you're making music, try to avoid a curse word. Because sometimes people will just put one F word in the song. But just by putting that one F word in the song, now the publisher has to label the song explicit. And there are some people, once they see the word explicit, they won't even listen to it. So that's where I'm coming from with that comment.
Totally agree with that. Thank you, Randy. That was
okay.
So, cool.
And speaking of which, someone sent me a song. They said, "Oh, the hook is great, right?" And then I was listening to it, and then the song was just like laced with, like, it was so vulgar and explicit, and I was like, "What? Like, you expect me to just use the hook of this song? The whole song?" I was just like shocked. But it was, to Randy's point, no cuss words.
Yeah. You know what? You made a really good point that, we've talked about the cursing thing a lot before, but Atik, you just made a really great point, which is you also have to remember where things lead back to. Just because there's no curses in your song, we might not play something, or someone might not play something simply because, do you want to lead back to the rest of that verse, which is explicitly disgusting, or out of control? Probably not. So you can't really separate those things. You have to kind of know that a full song, if it's out on a DSP and you take a piece of it, maybe that part is okay for television because there's no curses, but if it's disgusting or raunchy, forget about even just a curse. We've gotten some songs recently that you just sparked a whole thing in me, as you can tell, that I was just like, seriously, you guys know I curse like a sailor, so if you offend me, that's a problem. Like, your song is not great, but it is happening more and more lately. So Randy, thanks for bringing that up, and Atik, thank you for that extra smart point, which we've never talked about, which is don't forget where it leads back to. Genius.
Awesome. So thank you all. We are going to close out. Like I said, we're not doing an after party today, but still follow our camp. If the right by above at the top of your phone where it says Control Camp, there's a little green icon that looks like a house. If you click on that and hit follow, you'll be kept posted when we do our rooms, and when we do have the after party, it'll show up in your hallway because it will only show up to members. And so, yeah, tune in with us. Thank you all so much. Thank you, everybody on the stage, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Good seeing everybody, too.
Nice to see you, Atik.
Yep.
Good night, guys.
Bye.
Cheers,
Everyone,
guys.
good night. Good to see your
Peace.
faces,
Peace.
kind of.
Bye.
Good night.